Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo, senior editor here at thecoalition.com, and welcome to a brand new episode of TK Spotlight, where I bring on phenomenal individuals from throughout the gaming industry and the various corners of the internet. I know it's been a minute. I've been over here busy. I went to E3 and did a whole bunch of other stuff, so cut me some slack, but I'm back again with another fire episode for you guys to enjoy. And today, I got a really cool special guest. I actually met in person at E3 this year. Jesse Cox. What's good, man? How you been?
When does the phenomenal person come on? Is he after me or?
Well, that's you. That's you, man.
What?
You're Jesse Cox. If you didn't know, I hate to break the news to you. I'm just saying.
I'll take the intro, but I don't know that I'm deserving, but I'll take it.
But welcome, man. It's good to chat it up with you again and whatnot. How was your E3, by the way? Because I only got to see you for a short bit.
E3 was great. I love it every year. Every year I'm overwhelmed completely, and every year I walk away like, oh my God, there's a million games that I want to play. Even though I have a million games I've yet to play. So, yeah.
Totally true. Totally true. You know, for me, you know, as someone that's got to cover a lot of stuff, you know, as like the media side of things, I totally understand it because it's like hectic. It's our Super Bowl, and there's like so many games, there's so many things happening at the same time and whatnot. It's like you can't hardly see everything when you're out there. Like, did you at least get to see the stuff that you wanted to, like the big things?
Oh, yeah. The minute I got a press notification from CD Projekt that was like, we're going to be showing a thing at E3 this year, but we're not going to tell you what it is.
Exactly what time it was.
It was my first meeting the first day.
Oh, wow.
I was there in the morning. It was like, yo, show me this Cyberpunk, though. And it was awesome. I was so excited to watch that. So it was cool.
That is a great way to start off in E3. I'll tell you right now, that is really cool. But before we get into any other game talk stuff, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your YouTube channel. Let's talk about your content you created throughout the years. You've been in this YouTube game / gaming industry game for quite a while or whatnot. I mean, has it gotten easier over time for you?
I mean, the content creation, the idea of making things that you think people will like never gets easy. It always is like, I don't know what people want from me and I don't know what I'm doing. You'll never, just pro tip for everyone who thinks they want to do this kind of stuff, you'll never feel like you understand what the hell people want. You will always be confused and always struggle with trying to appease every one of your fans, even though you probably shouldn't. When it comes to the business side of things and just like the day-to-day operations, that definitely gets easier because it becomes habit and you sort of know what to expect and what to do, and you know what you can handle and what you can't. And eventually, as you get older, you have this sort of mental attitude of, okay, in life, there are certain things that I can control and certain things I can't. And you know what? You just got to deal with what you can, and that you can't, you just have to learn to accept it or at least get over it real quick.
I can imagine that, but does it always feel like, you know, the rules are constantly changing on you? Because I know a lot of people that I've talked to, both on this show and other places, that have done a lot with YouTube, especially throughout the years. They always say, like, obviously the platform's changing, you know, just people's taste is changing, but, like, various different things always makes it feel like the rules or, like, the guidelines are constantly just being flipped on you. Have you ever felt like that?
Sure, but that's, I think that's a great example. A great example is, for those of you who want to see what YouTube was like 2012.
Yeah.
Look at Twitch right now. Twitch right now is this burgeoning new ground area of just tons of money being thrown at it, tons of publicity. Celebrities are now starting to get involved.
Big time.
More and more people want to be in on it. And as that happens, suddenly Amazon's involved more. And suddenly they're making more choices. And more, you know, the more money there is, the more corporate interest there is. And I guarantee the Twitch you see now will not be the same Twitch in 2020, for example. It'll be a different space. And people will be saying the exact same thing as they said about YouTube. The problem is YouTube is the only thing like it. Every other time someone's tried to create something other than YouTube, it's drastically and completely failed.
TV, perfect example of that. Definitely. That kind of like went extinct after a short period of time.
Yeah, and so if you're on YouTube, even though the rules suck, and even though there are things that happen, like some of the copyright infringement stuff is so nonsensical and unfair.
Very true.
Even though that happens, you just have to accept this is the platform. And if I want to continue making money on this platform, this is it. I have to abide by their rules. You can complain and you can put up a stink all you want, but unless YouTube does anything about it, you just kind of have to accept that that's the way it is. And it sucks and it's not fair, but that's the business world sometimes. And so if you want to play, you have to play by the rules. Twitch, I think why people are moving there is because it was more open and free, and you sort of could do what you wanted, and it wasn't nearly as draconian in its policies.
It's more Wild West now at this point.
Yeah, which is what YouTube was way back when. But again, as more money and investment and people and more eyeballs reach it, Twitch as a company is going to have to be like, okay, we need to, and again, just like the Wild Wild West, as more money, like it's very historical, as more money and investment and more people move to the West, they're like, okay, we need to make some laws here. And I think that's what's going to happen on Twitch. But the good thing about Twitch, or I guess the streaming world, is that now, unlike with YouTube, there are competitors. And Facebook, who has a lot of money, is throwing money at people to stream on their platform. Mixer, which is Microsoft, is a lot of money. So they're throwing money at people to be on there. And I think that's good, because that means that there's competition for Twitch, which is only a good thing across the board. And I hope leads to people sort of finding where they want to be and who they want to represent them. And it will spread out the streaming community, something that YouTube and the blogger, whatever, YouTuber gamer community does not have. And that's unfortunate for them, but it's huge for the streaming population. I think that's really, really good.
That's true overall, especially with places like Mixer, like you mentioned. Now, with all this money that's being thrown around and all over the place, and all these different platforms, big or small and stuff, does the money ever really still mix with the creativity, or it doesn't mix with the creativity? Because again, being someone that's seen YouTube at its more earlier stages up till now at this point, and then now with all these other platforms and stuff, is there still that dichotomy, or still that struggle where it's like people are constantly chasing trends in order to get the money, in order to maybe do the stuff that they want? I mean, how crazy does that get in your opinion?
I think I'm fortunate that I don't have to do that. I know that if I did, I would make way more money, but I definitely come from this. I'm sure at this point, everyone and their brother knows my origin story. If you don't, I was a teacher. So I know what it's like to get paid jack shit in order to do a really hard job. Yeah. I know what it's like to be crapped on a lot. And so I think in my mind, being successful doesn't necessarily equate to having a fortune. And so I'm very content in what I do. And I'm very happy to be, making a living and not be like a millionaire. Right. And so I'm fine with it. But I definitely see a lot of people have that drive, and I will definitely hit on no one for wanting to be successful and have a shit ton of money. But it's the idea that it can become overwhelming. And I see this with streamers a lot, especially I think a little bit more than YouTubers, where it's like a game comes out and I need to cover that game, but not just cover it. I need to
play all of it for everybody.
Play all of it, go crazy, but I have only a window of 3 or 4 days to do that. And then after that, a new thing pops up and I have to cover that. And so I mean, you see streamer burnout. I follow a lot of streamers and their tweets are just like, my God, why you are so depressed constantly. And I know it's because they're trying to manage life stuff, but also this internet BS stuff too. And it's overwhelming. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But thankfully, I don't feel the need to run after big trendy games. Although sometimes they look awesome and I'll play them just because they look awesome. But yeah, I think I'm very, very fortunate that I've been around long enough and have a built-in audience that will still stick around and watch some of the garbage that I play compared to things that are pretty awesome.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
But let me ask you this on the flip side of that, or at least the inverse of it, because you said obviously trendy stuff, everything that's hot, that's new, that comes out. What's the next big splash everybody's talking about on social media? But what about the inverse of that, where it's stuff that's overly run to the ground, beaten to a dead horse, constantly repetitive? Like, for example, in my experience, when I used to stream on Twitch, I used to have to play the same game over and over and over and over again for extended periods of time in order to get people at least watching, maybe 3 or 4 viewers the most. But then you have people out there that this is their livelihood. They're playing Fortnite, they're playing Counter-Strike or maybe Call of Duty or anything of the sort, and that's all they get locked into playing or typecast into playing in order to get some sort of response. I mean, what about that end?
Well, I think historically, and I know I love the Yogscast guys, and I'm sure they'll give me some shit for this, but I think the Yogscast is a great example of, and also myself and Total Biscuit back in the day with Warcraft.
Yeah.
So Yogscast blew up when they started covering Minecraft, for example. And over a period of time, it became very clear that they weren't necessarily enjoying the amount of Minecraft stuff they had to produce, and they decided to switch. And when they switched, they lost viewers on their other stuff. right? That's just because people want to see the Minecraft stuff. It didn't kill their channel. They're still very, very successful. But it's one of those things where if you are one of those people who looks at numbers constantly and is constantly trying to determine how best to change and what to do, you're going to see that and be like, oh my God, I have to stick with Minecraft, which is, it's a trap. Because much like with Warcraft stuff, sure, you can cover only Warcraft, and that's what I did for the first year of YouTube. But I was like, I need to switch up because I want to do more stuff, and even though this is fun for me, it isn't going to grow my channel because all I'm going to do is get the same Warcraft people watching.
True.
And so you have to accept that if you are going to change, and you should change, because eventually you see people who, let's take StarCraft, for example. Sorry, Blizz, you are in my life forever. StarCraft players, StarCraft streamers, StarCraft YouTubers built empires on that stuff. But StarCraft died. And when it died, a lot of those people vanished because they didn't transition to something else. And if you don't change, if you put all your eggs in one basket, you're doomed. And that's just business 101.
Well, here's the crazy part about it is this is a perfect segue into the next thing I want to get into. Obviously, since you've been around and doing this stuff a lot, and you have a lot of, at least a lot of wisdom as far as like approaching making content and making it all work, both monetarily wise and also creatively wise. What do you say, at least to a lot of the people that are out there that are trying to get into this type of thing, that are probably intimidated by a lot of what we just talked about now? Like, again, thinking about obviously money, thinking about, making yourself relevant, or at least doing something that at least is going to grab people's attention. Like, what do you say to those people like myself that are probably like the 1K or below that are looking at YouTube now, or at least the landscape online on the internet, and they're just like, man, like this looks like too much for me right now. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to do something like this.
Well, and this is the BS catch-22 of it all. If you're starting out, the smartest things you can do to help yourself are probably do the big games, right? The problem is that by doing the big games, that's what people are searching for. But the places they're searching are going to promote the people that are already huge. So you're increasing your chances of being seen, but you are also throwing yourself in with a pack of millions of other people who are trying to do the exact same thing. You could try and play games that are sort of indie and on the fringe, and so if people look those up, you're more likely to be seen. But really, unfortunately at the moment, everyone and their brother is like, oh, video games, and I can do that. That seems easy. And because it's such a pastime for a lot of people, everyone has the assumption that they can do it. The biggest thing is discovering what you are comfortable with, what your own voice is, and what you want to share with people, and enjoying what you're doing. Most people will stick around and watch a person who seems like they're having fun and is entertaining. And most people are entertaining when they're like enjoying themselves. And so that's really what it's about. It's about finding your voice in gaming, or finding your voice in vlogging, or whatever it is, and sticking with it. Because no matter what, at the beginning, no one's going to watch and no one's going to care. And that's just the way it is. Yeah. That's the way it is for everyone. And you have to find ways to promote yourself. And this is no lie. This is totally the truth. When I first started making videos, it was back during the Cataclysm beta for WoW. And I would literally go on the forums. Now it's probably harder to do because all the accounts are linked. But before, what I would do is I would go on the forums and I would post a video under one of my alts names. Be like, have you guys seen this awesome video on YouTube?
Oh, man.
And then I would take all my other like level 1 alts I created just for this purpose and be like, yeah, that was an awesome video. And then I get my guildmates to reply like, yeah, that was really cool. And then I post it to different websites like
MMO Champions. That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
I BS'd my way to people watching my first videos, and they were terrible. They were not good. I don't know why anyone stuck around, but it was one of those things where I just kept doing it. Every video I released, I'd be like, oh man, have you seen this new zone footage? This guy's really good. And yeah, I found my way to advertise shamelessly, which I still recommend to everyone. The problem is now it's much harder because
there's a fine line.
Changed. Yeah.
Which is
the internet's changed completely. But back in the day, that's why you just have to find your way of doing that.
Definitely. That's the thing is like there's a very fine line because I know a lot of people get a little kind of overzealous with like the advertiser, the quote unquote self promotion and stuff. That's like a big thing I've heard like through the grapevine and a bunch of different places over the years and stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with like putting your stuff out there. I think it's cool and stuff like what you did and stuff like what other people do, going on forums, posting their stuff around, using social media to the max when they can to get yourself out there. Because obviously, if nobody knows you're around here, nobody's going to care about your stuff, correct?
Sure. And most people at this point will not find you. Based on the conversations I've had with YouTube or the conversations I've had with all the different algorithm people, there's a lot that goes into it, but the vast majority of things you see when you first, like if you type in Fortnite right now, I guarantee most of the stuff you're going to see is Ninja, right? And that's because he's super popular. But most people want to play Fortnite and get into Fortnite, and that's what they think is going to be their starting point. And for a lot of people so far, it has been. Some people have been found from Fortnite, but it's very rare. And the reason why is because algorithmically, the computers are basically saying, oh, people are, when they type Fortnite, they're looking for Ninja playing Fortnite. That's what the computer thinks is happening.
So let me ask you this.
So it's very hard.
Let me ask you this thing, because I think this is an important thing to acknowledge as well in like connection to all that. Collaborations, because what you hear all the time from everybody in some form or another is that you have to collaborate with other YouTubers. You have to collaborate with other bigger creators and stuff. I mean, does that obviously influence the fact? Like in my case here, obviously I have different guests on this show and whatnot, but I'm talking about the guy who's out there who's probably making his own reviews, probably doing his own Let's Plays and stuff. And one of the things that everybody gets hammered into them is that you have to tie yourself in relation to some of these other creators that are already there in order to kind of push yourself up. I mean, is there really truth to that? I mean, outside of like the obvious, like, you know, what is it, eyes on the person?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's a fallacy of some sort, but it's definitely one of those things where if you tie yourself to someone who's bigger and they grow, you will grow too. A great example is all of the people who surrounded PewDiePie or Markiplier, right?
True.
All of their friends blew up. Even if they barely made videos, they exploded and became and instantly got to 1 million subscribers like it was nothing. The thing is that is a rare thing. Like, I know for a fact that most of my success came early from working with Total Biscuit. Like, I get that. I have no illusions about that. I know exactly why that was. The thing that I think people assume is that you can only get that by working with people who are big. Like, you have to get in with someone who's huge. And the real truth is most of those people are not going to want to work with you because they don't know you. They've never worked with you before. They have no idea of what your abilities are or what you bring to the table. You're just a random person on the internet who says, like, I have 1,000 subscribers. Let's do a video together. And it's like, what?
Nah,
because
son.
to them, they're saying, okay, what do you bring to me? Right?
True.
At the end of the day, what do you like? And that's kind of unfortunately what a lot of people think is like, okay, what do you bring to me? If you have 1,000 subscribers, what do I get out of this working with you kind of thing? And, you know, it's a kind of a cynical attitude, but that's truly the way most YouTubers think because they're like, I have only so much time and, you know, that kind of stuff. But the real truth of it is if you find people who are just your friends, who you stream with or who you work with or who also are around your same subscriber or viewer or follower count, and just start playing with them, strangely enough, it always works out that you will grow together because people want to see more of you playing together and working together. And it's one of those things where because you're having fun with friends, people will watch and they'll have fun too. It all comes back to that. If people can enjoy what you're doing and if you seem like you're enjoying yourself, others will enjoy too. And that's kind of the deal. And so if you find people that are around your level, even if you don't think it'll work out, it will work out. In the end, you will all grow together. But it's also one of those things that, again, because the internet is a catch-22
it's
of
a chicken
complaints.
and egg thing, basically.
Yeah, if you work with someone, like let's say you have a partner, when you start making videos without them, accept that most of those videos are going to be filled with comments that are like, ugh, you're boring without X Sephiroth X, right? And so, I mean, that's just, you'll never make everyone happy, which is unfortunately the problem with most streamers and YouTubers where they try to. And I'm guilty of the exact same thing. I recently made a video where the end of the video, there was a choice to either sing or kiss or something else. And I kiss the girl because I was like, oh, well, this is like a beautiful moment. It's a secret ending I unlocked, so I'll do the secret ending. And even though most people were very, very satisfied, there was a vocal minority that were like, you should have sang. That's a better ending. I almost had a perfect playthrough. This could have been better. And it really, that upset me because I was like, I thought that's
it's a
because
secret ending. We got Easter
I was like,
eggs.
it was a special secret. Yeah, it unlocked a thing, like a little unlock option happened. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I was ready to impress people, and they're like, it's not the better of the endings. And even though most people enjoyed, it was, the 10 or 12 comments that I saw that were just like, it could have been better, really affected me. I was like, damn it, I wish I would have changed that.
So I want to ask you about that specifically, because obviously when you get that negative feedback, or when anybody gets negative feedback or whatnot, obviously it makes one get down. And that's like, you could get, the saying goes, you could get like 100 or a million different like positive comments and great reinforcing stuff, but it'll be that one comment that just sticks with you or that you focus on. It's like, has it ever really got, because again, you have a much larger audience than a lot of the people that I know. Has it ever got to a point where sometimes like, there'll be those times where things like really get you down and like, and maybe it like affects your work or whatnot, or you have to give yourself a minute to take yourself back to kind of recoup?
Yeah. It happens. It definitely happens. There's there's constantly, if you put yourself out there, you're always going to, have people who find reasons to dislike something you did. And that's just the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, human nature is one where you could tell me 50,000 things I did right, but the one thing I did wrong is the one thing I'm going to focus on, because for some reason we feel like we could change a thing or fix a thing, or if we'd only done something better, or
we want it to be perfect, basically.
Yeah, we just want to make people happy. I think is at the end of the day, as an entertainer, you just want to make people happy. And when someone has the instant reaction, and this is, I think, the difference between Hollywood, for example, and what we do, is that if someone has an immediate reaction, they can tell you, rather than most celebrity things where it's people have to go through a lot of channels to get in touch with you.
You have to read it in the papers or something.
Yeah. And it takes time. It takes time, or it takes effort on your part to discover what people think about you. And so people have a little moment of reflection. But there's, a great example is there's times in videos where someone will post that I did something wrong, but literally 2 minutes later in the video, the right thing happens. They just didn't get to that point, but then they don't change their comment. They just left the comment and then maybe later commented something else. But you see that one comment of like, you're so dumb, I can't believe you did that. And that's what sticks with you, that kind of stuff. And I guess as a creator, you need to accept that that's what the industry is, and you just have to get over it. I still haven't. I'm gonna let you know, like it's very difficult, but you also have to understand that that's just
it's
what
a process.
life is.
It's a process, and I think everybody
goes
have to work
through it.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think now in gaming, especially for someone like me, because again, I find myself more as like a games media person than I am like a gaming content creator. So I see a lot of the different stuff that happens in the news, and I kind of relate to it a little bit more from like the journalist / critic side of things. But one of the things that I think is an interesting point that you kind of allude to is about the relationship between the creator and the audience, or the person that's putting the content out there online and stuff, and the audience that's reacting to it. We right now in a time and day and age, at least we're recording this in the middle of 2018, where there's a lot of discussion and back and forth about the types of stuff like one person would have with that audience, whether it's like a volatile, combative, or nurturing, or in like a supportive type of relationship and stuff. I mean, the most recent thing that happened not so long ago was the Guild Wars 2 stuff with Jessica Price, with ArenaNet and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and granted, there's differences there, because obviously with YouTubers, streamers and stuff, there's a different type of dynamic there with the relationship they have with the audience and stuff, compared to the person actually making these games and people are buying them and such. I mean, where do you stand usually when it comes to that type of like either clash or relationship with one's audience? I mean, do you find yourself at times, or at least at any point, like you ever find yourself at odds with your audience like that? That to the point was like maybe it was a back and forth.
I think in general, the biggest crime YouTubers ever committed against their audience was that thing back in the, especially I think Felix PewDiePie was probably one of the biggest people that did this. The
disclosure thing?
No, the idea of, hey bros, it's me and we're all friends, and you watching at home, you're my friend.
Okay.
And I think when that happened, it started creating this dynamic that we're not just entertainers, but we're just like you, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
relationship.
yeah, even though the case may be true, right, that the vast majority of people on YouTube or Twitch or whatever streaming platform are, yeah, pretty much just like you. They're just very, very fortunate. It's still an entertainment thing where there is a screen, and when we shut down, we're a different person than when we're on, like when we're broadcasting. Even me, who is notorious for just being myself, the minute I like turn off the camera, I slouch my ass down in the chair. I'm like, oof, and my energy drops to like 0. And it's one of those things where everyone's different than what they present themselves to be on the internet, and so that's just a thing people, I think, forget. Especially fandoms, and they just assume like I know this person, and even though I'm pretty out there and open with my opinions and my thoughts on stuff and just who I am, there's a lot of stuff I don't tell people because it's, I'm very quiet about like relationships I'm involved in or like there are things I just don't think the world needs to know because it's my shit, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's just people, I assume, think they know everything just because of a few things they see online.
Like they don't need to know all that.
Yeah. And I think people just forget because they're like, yeah, I watched all those videos, so I know this person. But it's like, it's the internet. When people post a photo, they post like the 8th version of the photo they took, right? Yeah. Or they position themselves to look a certain way or to people, even especially cosplayers and like Photoshop and shit, people know that and they still get drawn in by it, right? There's a lot of assumptions made about this stuff. Anyway, going to the ArenaNet stuff and all of that, I think unfortunately we are in a period of immense tension on every single side. True. And if someone screws up or someone says something wrong, or someone does, like, it doesn't matter. You're done. Like, people will go nuts. And because the internet has no repercussion for being angry, only repercussion for screwing up, then it's just it's bad all around. I think there are a lot of people to blame on every single side. And unfortunately, it's because people are just outraged. I think just in general, as a culture, everyone's just angry.
People are agitated.
Yeah, and they're looking to unleash that rage on a lot of stuff that is justifiable, right? There's a lot of justifiable anger in the Me Too movement. There's all sorts of stuff, but at the same time, it's one of those things where, and this is something that I see where, and I've seen this a lot. If there is, and I think Chris Hardwick is a good example.
Yeah,
where the Me Too movement against Chris Hardwick was like, everyone that I knew was just like, F Chris Hardwick. But then all these people started coming out saying like, maybe this isn't a real thing. Maybe this didn't happen. And the people who that went after him are quiet, but it's because no one wants to say, okay, well, maybe I was wrong, or no one wants to be on the wrong side, and everyone's trying to figure out what the wrong side is. And it could be a situation like, I don't know, Chris could be a bad dude. Right?
Do you think it's a knee-jerk reaction, though, most of the time? Like, obviously, with the Jessica Price thing, I felt like a lot of people were reacting because she kind of came off a certain way from some sort of response from, like, an AMA that she was doing. Like, in that situation...
I definitely think that her response, or the way she wrote, angered people, but it was text, so it's one of those things where, how do I know exactly?
Up to the point that she called him an asshat, though. I mean, that's when I think things went from like 0 to 60. But my point in it is that...
But it's one of those things where people, like, again, it goes back to the people are just angry.
Yeah.
Just angry. It's an angry time. And so what I think two things. One, I think she overreacted. I think the response to her was an overreaction, and I think ArenaNet's response was an overreaction. I think everyone overreacted because everyone's just trying to cover their own asses because everyone's like angry, and it sucks because no one's willing to have a conversation and no one's willing to take the time to talk or listen because everyone's like, we have to. If someone says something wrong, air quotes wrong, then we need to distance ourselves from that. If you're a company, you're like, we're out. If someone. And so that angers the people that were on her side. And then the people who went after her, I think, overreacted. It's just all a shit show. And it sucks because the industry is suffering because of it. Because everything takes place on a platform where it's not designed for conversation. It's designed to have, witty one-liners and shit talk someone and to say a statement. And people are taking what you or I or whoever try to fit into the limited amount of space that we have as exactly what we mean, when that is never the case. No one can fit exactly what they're thinking in that 200 whatever characters it is now. It's impossible. But
True.
Everyone takes that as like, that is your exact word. And it's just unfortunate across the board. And I definitely have learned in the past that, everyone has a side, and everyone can mean different things or think different things or have different opinions and not be a total evil person, or like, is this whole...
It needs to be more empathy all around, on all sides.
Yeah. And it makes me sad that that's the case right now, where it's just not happening. And, it's worrisome that as I'm talking to you, I keep thinking, like, have I said anything that people could misconstrue as me meaning something else?
That's the
right?
crazy part. It's just like, again,
it's like I keep thinking about it.
Things are so hostile to that point, whereas like people like you and other creators out there, and even just, celebrities, or even people that aren't even on that status like that, they have to feel like, they're kind of treading on minefields. If they have to be careful where they step, with their words and stuff, because otherwise either it's the visceral reaction that you get from masses of people, or just the repercussions from whatever they're involved with and stuff. It obviously wasn't like that with earlier days of YouTube and other earlier days of content creation. Even more so, I look at it because, again, I'm more involved with the games industry. It wasn't really like that where you would hear things about this, because of like some statements or some back and forths like that, where all of a sudden now people are getting fired. Now there's a whole ethical debate on various different websites about what's going on and stuff. I feel like it wasn't as like, crazy hostile back then as it is now.
Well, I think the hostility, it's such like a layered cake of issues. The problem is that for a long time, a lot of the complaints, especially from women in the games industry, who, across the board were paid less and treated like shit by many reasons. Yeah. Like, I can understand that now that there's a movement of, hey, we can be open and honest about what's going on with us, and we expect you to recognize that, I think is a positive thing. But I also think the fact that positivity has in some way been, I don't want to say corrupted. I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's something that
tainted. It's kind of messed around with. Yeah,
it's the idea that if you and again, internet, please don't come at me for this, but like, it's the idea that in today's culture, if a woman is told like, "Hey, nice ass," versus a woman is raped online, that is the exact same offense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And I think even though both are bad, and even though both have a right to be called out, the reaction online is the same. And it makes everyone's tense, because no one knows what to say, no one knows what to do. And as a person who, I'm like, good on you, ladies, fucking like, go out there and wreck some shit, knock some doors down, break some ceilings. Like, that's fun. Like, I'm all for the idea of like equality in the workplace and everyone being paid the same. But it's the idea that even I am scared about what I'm supposed to be saying.
An extreme.
Yeah, because right now everything's at an extreme. And then on the flip side, there is a very strong pushback of, and I'm going to definitely say, like, the vast majority of them are men who are just like, I'm tired of this shit. And this isn't, I remember what it was like before. And I think no matter what, that's a wrong idea too. They're both wrong. And there's a happy middle ground, but no one wants to go to the middle ground because it's seen as a sign of weakness. And I think that's unfortunate. And that's what worries me. And that, I think, it's a social thing. It's a political thing. Like, everything, especially in the States right now, is just a shit show. And it's worrisome, which is why the last year or so I've just been like, I'm only going to post positive things online. I'm only going to talk to people
just gonna chill.
About like, yeah, because there's nothing I can do to change the way online culture is right now. And it's going to take more than me saying that there's a problem to really address it. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it's unfortunate, and it's in the gaming industry big time. And so, yeah, it sucks, because I'm afraid of like, what if I say something dumb, or what if I do this or that? it sucks. It's a really crappy time to have an opinion.
Yeah, right. That's really where it kind of boils down to, and I think it's more, especially for us here in the States, and especially now after all the last like couple of elections and stuff, all that other crazy stuff that's like outside of games and outside of entertainment. That's kind of like kind of influenced everything else, and it's kind of made the environment what it is now. But I want to switch gears though, kind of as we start to wrap things up. I want to talk a little bit about some of your other projects, which I think are cool. In relation to all this stuff, where I think also some of these other conversations come up. Obviously, I found out more about you through the Co-optional podcast, obviously with Total Biscuit, RIP, as well as also Dodger, and as well as some of the other people that you have on the show there. I've heard about Cox Con. I've never been, myself out there, but I've always heard about it and stuff. Tell me a little bit about some of these other projects that you get involved with. I mean, obviously, you're still kind of focal point is video creation, content creation and stuff, but you got all these other things going on and stuff. I mean, is like a lot of the same processes and the same, approach to what you've done with your videos, same approach to what you do in all these other things?
Pretty much. I wish, like most businesses, I existed in sort of a world of, yes, I planned all of this and it's going according to my business 5-year plan and everything that I want to do is exactly as I've thought about.
Break out the charts.
Yeah, no, it's literally just me looking at stuff and being like, that seems fun. I'll do that. A great example is Cox Con, is because I went to a convention 6 years ago, and it was a really, really fun convention over in the UK. And the next year I was like, hey, everyone, I think you should come to this convention. I had a blast. I would love to have you there. It was a really great time. I promoted it heavily, and then they just canceled the convention.
Oh, man.
At the last minute, and they were like, well, we don't have the money to pay anyone back. We're really sorry. And so I felt terrible. And so what I ended up doing was essentially going to the UK and hosting a kind of like a bootleg convention.
A bootleg convention. That's the first time I heard that, a bootleg convention.
Basically what I did is I said, hey, do you have a ticket to this other convention? If you do, I'm going to rent out the Namco Fun Center in London and come on down. If you have a ticket, you can get in.
You see, that's cool. That's cool to me.
Yeah. So 600 people showed up, which was insane. And it was like a really crazy moment. And I was so happy that they were all there. And I was like, all right, maybe we could do this, right? Like maybe
this is realistic.
Maybe this is something we could do. And so what ended up happening is the next year we went back and we decided to make it a real thing, and we created Cox Con and invited all my friends out, and it was just sort of started as a goof, and I thought it would be fun, and everyone was like, yeah, let's do this. This will be a real thing to do. And we did it. When it comes to the game that just came out that I was a producer on, Monster Prom, literally I played an early demo of their game and immediately afterwards contacted them like, yo, this is the game I've always wanted to make. Can I fund this game and let's make this happen? And that was it. Like, that's as simple as it was. I'm a very, very simple man who just enjoys making myself smile and laugh. So I assume it will work on others too. And
Yeah,
so that's
course.
kind of where I'm at.
No wrong with that.
Yeah, everything I'm involved with is just like, would this make me happy to do? Oh, okay, it does, then I'm in. That's pretty much it.
So let me ask you this about Monster Prom, because again, I don't know too much about it. I've only heard about it here and there from people and stuff.
Sure.
Was things, when you were getting involved with Monster Prom, was it, giving you a little bit of a different insight into obviously the gaming industry or just gaming in general, being on the opposite side, being directly involved with the creation of a game in some form or fashion?
Well, thankfully the devs are incredible. And so the developers and the writing team and the artists, everyone involved was great. And so literally I just was like, okay, what do we need the money for? What's the process? What kind of stuff do we have to promote? What do we want to do? And then they would tell me and I'd be like, okay, here's what I think we should do. Having seen games that, I guess, being on the side of a fan and seeing games that you're interested in the way they promote themselves, you're like, okay, well, let's try this. And so I did the exact same thing that when I see a company promote a game, I did pretty much the exact same thing that I've seen other companies do. I was like, okay.
There you go. Was it as simple as you had hoped, or was there obviously a lot of challenges with it along the way?
It was, I'm gonna be real with you, it was pretty excellent the entire way. And it wasn't because of anything I did. It was because everyone was on point. everyone involved with the process of making the game, everyone from me to the publishers to the devs to all the fans that out of nowhere started making fan art. I mean, it was awesome. And the minute they started making fan art, I was like, guys, we need to do this. I've always had a theory, and I continue to hold this theory to this day, even though it sounds like creepy. It's basically the idea that if you can make a game where people want to have sex with the characters you've created,
oh my
like
God.
if there's dirty ass art online, if there's like Rule 34 about the characters in your game, it's because people love it and love them enough to do that.
You've done good at that point.
Yeah, you've impacted them. And a great example is before Overwatch came out, a year before it came out, there was like really high quality source media.
Oh yes, I remember this.
Stuff.
I remember people talking about it.
And it was just like, oh my God, this is better than in-game footage. Like, people must really care about these characters. And so the minute that happened, I talked about it on the podcast. I said it was going to be huge. I think this game's going to be one of the biggest in the world. And it's very obvious that like, yeah, that's what happened. And I think
crazy.
the minute I saw the Monster Prom game and the characters when I played the demo and I saw what they were going for and how the writing is very adult, but like not full of itself humor and silly. And the minute I saw that, I was like, oh my God, people are going to fall in love with these characters. And that is the vast majority of the art, because it's a dating game, right? But it's like a party game. The vast majority of the art is like all these characters in pairs and shit. It's great. And I couldn't be happier. I'm thrilled by the outcome. But it's one of those things where I saw a mile away, like, this is going to be successful, but you just have to believe in it.
Would you ever do it again? Like with like a totally different genre, a different type of style
Sure,
of game?
yeah. I'm a huge fan of FMV games. I'm just waiting for the right FMV game to come along. My goal, my dream is to finally get the guy who made the game Contradiction has vanished. I don't know where the hell he went, but he like dropped off the face of the earth. But I would love to get in contact with him and make a sequel. I would pay for all of that. I'd be like, dude, let's make this thing. I love FMV games. People may not buy it, but I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, like a Jesse Cox official FMV game, kind of like Nitrat or anything of the sort, like in that style.
Yes. Oh, they're so silly. I love them so much.
That'd be dope. I'm not going to lie. I'd be really curious to see something like that go down. That'd actually be kind of fun and stuff. But now we come to the time where every guest that we have on the show, we always ask them the same question because we always like giving food for thought and nuggets of wisdom to the audience and stuff. So, Jesse, as always with everybody that we have here on the show, what is one thing that you feel like you could tell everybody, you could give to the audience right now that's listening to this episode of the show? What is it, something that you could give to them?
Be excellent to each other, right? Take the words of Abraham Lincoln in the greatest movie of all time, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and just be cool to everyone else and accept that everyone has a life and everyone is dealing with their own shit and not everyone is you and not everyone has the same experience as you do, and understand that empathy is a cool thing and trying to understand other people is a cool thing, even if they are not necessarily the best people. Trying to understand their perspective, even if you do not agree with it at the end of the day, is something that's valuable and worth doing. And and to quote Abraham Lincoln, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's some cool nuggets of wisdom for you guys. Jesse, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm glad that we finally got to chat and do this. This is awesome. Oh, well, now, where can everybody find you? Even though a lot of your fans already know where you're at, but where can everybody find you right now?
Oh, my God. YouTube.com/Jesse Cox. Twitch TV/Jesse Cox. Twitter, Jesse Cox. On just Google my butt. You'll see a bunch of stuff on there about me. I'm sure most of it will be like, Jesse Cox stinks and is a jerk. But most of it hopefully will be like links to stuff that I'm in, because that would be great.
No, they're gonna love you. They're gonna look at this episode and be like, "Yo, Jesse Cox, that's a cool mofo. I think that's a cool dude." Whatnot.
Well, thank you.
Of course, man. But what other projects you got in the works right now? Is Monster Prom's out now, right? Correct.
Monster Prom is out. It's been out for about a month and a half. It is killing it. I'm so proud of everyone
Which
involved.
platforms is on PC? Steam?
Right now, it is on Mac and PC. The big dream, for me at least, is to get on Switch because it's the perfect party game.
Dope. That'll be very dope.
And then we're still releasing DLC for it. It's all free, of course, and we just had a summer DLC come out. And we're just Cox Con is a week away.
Really? I didn't realize it was so close. That's dope.
Yeah, we're almost there. And God, there's so much other stuff coming down the pipeline. But right now, most of it's like, how can I make a bunch of videos and not stress out over it? So that's, yeah. Welcome to the world of a content creator.
Yeah, of course. You're doing Let's Plays, obviously, on your channel. You're doing, obviously, the co-optional podcasts, and you're doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So, I mean, any other, like, specific things that people should look out for in the coming, like, days or weeks besides Cox Con?
Yeah, definitely check out the role play show I do with JP's role play. It's called Oddballs. It is straight up just, like, it's myself, Cinnamon Toast Ken, Octopimp, a very amazing voice actress, Elsbeth, who also streams, and Morgan Webb, who I think everyone knows.
Everybody loves. I love Morgan Webb. I want to get her on this show one day.
She's wonderful. And so it's the four of them, and I am the GM or DM, depending on what you want to call it.
Dungeon Master.
And it is a game based on the mechanics of Tales from the Loop, and it literally is like those four people in if Goonies met Stranger Things. It is amazing. It is not dragons and monsters, or well, maybe there's monsters. It's not like, you know, Dungeons and Dragons stuff. It's very cool early 90s, late 80s nostalgia stuff. And it's super fun, and it's all tropey, and every episode ends with a cliffhanger and like a big reveal, and it's just so much fun to work on and play with those guys. I laugh every episode for the entire 2 hours. It's great. So I would highly recommend people check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, they're going to be links in the description box below, guys. If you're listening to this on YouTube now, there'll be all that different stuff that we just mentioned, so you guys could go straight directly to that and check it out or share it around with everybody else. But again, Jesse, thank you for being on the show. Always a pleasure chatting up with you. Hopefully we get to chat again very soon, if not in another event. Man. It'd be awesome. But again, guys, don't forget the show TK Spotlight is also on iTunes. If you haven't already checked it out, make sure you guys subscribe to us on iTunes. Again, subscribe to the Coalition's YouTube channel for all our videos like this, TK Spotlight, other interviews, other gameplay reviews, a whole bunch of other stuff that we got here on the YouTube channel. And don't forget to visit thecoalition.com as well for all the other reviews, written editorials, and cool other pieces that we guys got there for you to enjoy. With that being said, we will talk to you again very soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.